This is the standoff of like, are we live? Do I talk first? Who's actually hosting? Welcome back to Take 20, everyone. That's right, the companion We're starting off strong. The companion
Yep.
podcast.
And
to
thanks for
the
listening.
Rolling
We'll see you next time.
That's it. As always, I am your host, Ben. Welcome. Thank you for clicking on the video. Hope you enjoy. And today, joining us, we have DM Fraya and Blair and Melody. Well, hello, everyone.
Hello, good sir.
Hey.
Hello.
We are going to glaze over the fact that we just all trauma dumped to each other about 5 minutes ago and have a wonderful time.
Uh-huh.
Totally
It's been a week.
not
It's been a
stressing over the past two very light, very happy episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 13 and 14, if we're following along at home and or didn't pay attention to the title of the video. Where we last left our trepid group of adventurers. Is that the right word? What does that mean?
Intrepid.
We'll get to that later. That's a
Intrepid.
Google search for later. Intrepid.
Yes.
Everyone was just kind of stuck in a little pocket dimension on the top of a rope.
Yep.
Yeah, no further context needed.
Yep.
That's
Great.
that's-
Yep. Hell
That's
of a banger.
In the middle of a monster hunter hunt.
Yep. Pretty much just a giant hole and a plunger, and that was it.
Yes. Looking
Totally
to
fine.
harvest moss that grows on the back of a giant monster called the Kitwala. Right beforehand, you guys had thoroughly just brutalized another animal who I don't have to note the name of, that you basically are going to use as bait. He left the bait for the Kitwala to eat while you all hid in the pocket dimension. And then almost immediately, Theron jumps out of the pocket dimension, turns invisible, and goes, all right. Without telling the group exactly what you were doing.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, the way I saw it was just like, it'd be kind of a waste of time to climb back into the pocket and then have a conversation. I was just like, at this point, Theron is probably just gonna try something bold.
Which is not what we're used to, but also kind of a refreshing change of pace that it's not Kalis or Volcar or Milo, who's off doing impulsive decisions.
Yeah, when it comes to like hunting monsters and stuff like that, I feel like Theron's a little more bold. We didn't record our very first episode, but Theron was pretty much first man into the tunnel when they were hunting their first monster. So it is one of those things where he kind of feels more comfortable out in the wilds than doing city stuff. I try to intentionally not chime in when we're like in Vasselheim and in the city and talk, because it's not really Theron's strong suit. There's a reason he has a charisma of 8. It is because he's not a person that he's not a talker.
Which makes sense. And yeah, I guess in the middle of the hunt for a big monster is Terran's home field.
Pretty much.
Theron's home field.
He's never hunted anything like this before, but he's kind of at home, so to speak, out in the wilds.
Basics are the same, just scaled up.
Yep. I, as a player, really wanted to fight this thing, but I could tell when your DM is telling you without actually telling you that this thing will TPK you guys without actually telling you it's going to TPK you guys. So
I mean, I did literally tell you that.
Yeah.
In the description, Perry's like, we don't kill it because of
Yeah.
ecological reasons and also because
It
of
will blow
physical
you up.
reasons, because we
Yeah.
can't.
yeah. So it's always one of those things where you're just like, I wonder what the health bar on this thing is, but you don't want to test it. So
That's a good question. Also, this is the great platform where you can absolutely ask Freya that. Now, if you get a response or not, up to Freya. But
What its health bar was?
What is its
Yeah.
health bar?
It was so high, I didn't find the need to define it because I had faith that you were not dumb enough to try and kill this thing. I will say, it would absolutely wipe the floor with all of you if it had any chance to really actually do anything and didn't roll like complete trash the entire time.
Would you
So-
say power level is like worse or better, or like less than like an ancient dragon?
Less than Ancient Dragon, largely due to like not having like lair actions and as much extra bullshit that Ancient Dragons get to do. But in terms of like raw destructive power, especially to the party being the level that it is, or if it just happens to catch you off guard somehow, yeah, it can really fuck people up. So the blast, I forget the exact number, but it's something in the ballpark of 10d6 in a 20-foot wide, 60-foot long line, I believe it is. And so let's just say a level 5 party gets hit by that, and then it recharges that the next round and actually has done something in between. Yeah, this was every possible thing that could have gone your way went your way in this, and so it felt pretty easy. But had anything it tried to do worked a little bit better, you would have been in some really, really big shit. So
I was the only one that got hit, if I recall correctly. Oh, well, and Kalis.
Yeah, me and Kalis got hit. I actually probably would have died if I didn't make the saving throw. So
yeah. You were the only one
very
that got
likely
hit
could have
with
one
that big
shot
charge.
you.
Yeah.
As soon as you were like, I'm going down alone, I was like looking at these numbers and I was like, this might be bad.
I had the lucky dodge belt, so I could have re-rolled a failed dex saving throw. So I was very fortunate that charisma was not the saving throw this time. Because I get a lot of those, and it's like, oh my god, like this is my dump stat. Like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, a lot of those, especially next episode.
Yeah.
But back to the battle. One of the best rolls is on your first shot with a trank arrow. Fraya said the Kitwalla rolled a nat 1 on that, I assume, con save. So immediately just kind of goes down and unconscious.
Yeah. I was not expecting to knock it out. I will say that. My idea was I'm going to shoot this thing and distract it. But if I'm going to shoot it, I might as well risk the chances of knocking it out. But when Tinny gave me the double movement speed, my goal was just to distract it and run for my fucking life. So, yeah.
Tinny's utility has been shining brightly these 2 episodes.
Artificers are, really very heavily utility based. For sure.
I haven't played an artificer, so like I'm curious to see like I guess how do they compare to Bard in utility?
They're a little weird because like a lot of the artificer subclasses that are like, well, the one that I chose at least, they're very like spell heavy, but you don't get a lot of spells because they're only half casters. So it's a little bit of a weird balance. But I'm liking the flavor of it so far. I think bards are a heavier support class. I think artificers can be offensive when they want to be. So it's a bit more of a balance.
Artificer puts a lot of responsibility on the DM to make it something useful. In a lot of cases, because as Melody said, they technically have access to a lot of stuff, but it's like very limited access to that lot of stuff. And some of it is very specifically situational or just a little bit underwhelming. And so I have found it's mostly about letting your artificers build cool stuff and kind of work a little bit around the outsides of what's possible there.
Finding the edges of the box and just kind of putting right up against it.
Yes, precisely.
Nice. Back to the battle. Kitwalla's down. Pretty much everyone jumps out of the pocket dimension. Let's see. Volcar jumps out. Quilly jumps out. My next note is just me and the boys at 2 a.m. looking for beans.
Yeah.
She tried to use. Quilly tried to use. I forget exactly what the force beans did, but it basically ended up being Kitwalla was too big, so we kind of retconned that one.
Yes, far too big.
The flash beads, if I remember correctly.
It was the beads of force that were gotten a while ago. Yeah.
Got a lot of beads in this group.
Yeah.
But then he found out it just kind of wouldn't actually move the Kitwalas. We're like, all right, never mind. Milo did a cool jump. It's just all that note says.
Yeah. Miley did a cool jump.
Milo did a cool jump out. And then Kalis, hold my beer and watch this. What? Nat 20 Red Bulls to the monster? Is apparently my note.
We're not wrong.
Yeah, it's
Kalis
incredibly accurate. He throws
jumps
his wings out and he gets all fancy.
Yep.
He flies over to the back of it, and he's living up to the name Red Bull Boy.
Kalis wants the horn. Kalis wants to grab life by the horn. To which basically you're like, it's a tree trunk.
Yeah,
Of, like,
it's big.
A giant redwood. No. in better DM terms, no.
I could see it in him. He wanted that bad.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you could remove it, but
yeah.
you know, decided I'd save him dying. So,
Very
Yes.
wise.
Literally, my next 4 notes are grab some moss, Volcar grab moss, Derek grab moss, Quilly grab moss, Milo climbs.
mhm.
So while the Kitwalla is down, everyone just kind of goes about harvesting the ingredients we need to save Tinny. I believe Derek also gets a vial of the saliva, for lack of a better term, or is the accurate term?
Secretion.
The boom juice. Secretion.
Yes. The boom juice.
The boom juice.
That's what it's called. That's canon now.
Bad.
What Tinny would call it, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's totally boom juice.
Koala started to stir. Theron, the brain cell, it's like, great, leave.
Yeah.
We out.
Yeah, no, I already took more than half my HP down, and I was like, we're spending way too long here not getting the job done, that it's like, I don't see a point in climbing over this monster to get behind it. It's like, if this thing gets up, I'm fucking running.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was Milo wanted to ride it.
Yep.
Which was the most Milo thing I could think of at the moment.
Yep.
Mhm.
And Kalos was trying to chop off its horn.
Yeah.
So it was like,
And Quilly's
okay,
like
it's
preparing to die as a martyr, just like
Mhm.
hanging out in the
Yeah,
back.
and
I
I
was
was
like,
like,
my
oh
next
my
note was the
God.
Battle of the Martyrs.
yeah.
Kalis and Quilly were just like, no, you go.
Quilly.
I'll hold
Yeah.
it off. No, you
Yeah,
go.
and I
I'll
was
hold it
like-
off.
I was just like, I don't think either you understand that this thing will probably just squish you in around and like continue moving. So
And then Melody, again, half the time I'm listening to this, sometimes I'm driving, sometimes I'm like at lunch and someone just walks by and I miss bits here and there, but why were you Spider-Man climbing on the wall?
I just figured that was the easiest way around this creature without having to like step on it and like be near it. So I was like, I'm just gonna go around it on the wall and
That's-
just go.
Smart. But don't you want to ride a Kitwalla? Don't you want to be Milo?
I mean, Tinny probably yes, but after seeing Theron like blow up, probably not.
yeah, and,
Tinny
and
is
also
observant
being
enough.
told like, hey, you need to go get this very specific thing so you don't die horribly in the next 2 days. Like that might sour the fun.
And also knowing that it secretes something that is explosive when in contact with the thing that we're trying to collect.
But
Like you drop your back and what's gonna happen?
that's such a Tinny way to go out, though.
So here's
I
the
mean, I
thing.
think Tinny like
don't wanna
can
lose
cause
Tinny yet.
other
I don't wanna
things
lose Tinny
to
yet.
explode. She doesn't want to explode.
Yeah, so had anyone been hit by the ability that pretty much never recharged after the first use, and you had it on you, it was going to explode and do extra and you would lose it. So
Absolutely.
there was a very good chance 4 of you were in a line. If it recharged on that one turn, it could have hit all 4 of you, practically guaranteed, and blown up almost everything you just did. So when I say you guys were so lucky, I am not kidding. Everything that needed to go your way went your way. So yeah, that would have happened.
I heard months ago that like the dice really tell a story when it comes to D&T. And like this whole episode, it felt like that was the truth, the absolute
Absolutely.
truth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. There's a game I play where there's a tiefling and almost a literal angel, and into it, the players wanted to have the angel be corrupted, but the dice said no. We are saving the tiefling from a life of hatred and crime. We're like, okay, guess we're going that way then.
That's the fun thing about D&D. It's just, you got a DM who gives you so many different options to do, and then you say you want to do this, and that decision is going to go either one or two ways, and it's completely dependent on how you roll. Fun thing about it.
I think D&D 5e especially provides a flexible enough, or at least a versatile enough platform that if you have a creative DM or creative players, you can bend it here and there without breaking it too much to kind of tell whatever story you need.
Yeah, it's been I've been in part of some campaigns that have felt very linear. Like I've been, like I have a choice to go do this, but realistically the DM's kind of pushing me in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
And Fraya has made it very clear very early on that we can do whatever the fuck we want. In this one, we really don't have to be here doing any of this stuff. So that's kind of the fun of it.
You
Yeah.
can collect as many side quests as you want.
Y'all could have been like,
Not completing
hey,
them.
Siren, no, and just ignored it and just gone and done whatever the fuck else. And that was a completely viable option. So I like to make tempting options either through reward or consequence, but I'm completely aware that at any point in time you can just decide to stop giving a shit about something and whoops, now I gotta respond.
Yeah, I mean, six sessions ago? I mean, we were talking about taking a bank tycoon's son into the woods and to find his father, right? And I mean, that
Yeah.
never happened. Now we're on an airship halfway across a continent, on a completely different quest. So, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's more fun for me this way, to be honest. If I just like railroad everything, I might as well program a video game at that point,
Yeah.
Fair.
Still fun, but
We
I like
all
to be
did
surprised.
the head tilt at the same time on that.
We did.
That was
We did.
so cool.
But yeah. Anyway, proceed, Mr. Ben.
Where were we? Battle of the Martyrs. No, I want to die. No, I want the GTA death screen. Which was a running
Wasted.
joke at that point. Yeah. Wasted.
I might edit
And
that in
roll
right
credits.
here. We'll see.
The Kitwala wakes up, doesn't recharge its blast. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Seas Kalis, but it just says Seat Kalis, Seats. Good job,
I mean, it tries
autocorrect.
to. Yeah.
Oh man, I need to start throwing these in the chat when I hear them, so that way you guys aren't blindsided by yes, another round of who said it. Things that made me laugh that I write down that we'll just guess if you remember from 3 or 4 weeks ago who said this. That's right. Such a stupid
I'm
game.
scared. I love it. No, it's the best.
No, this one's fine. This one's like, I don't know if this hits. 31?
Oh, that was me. That was me
Yes.
being
Yeah.
a sassy fucker.
Yes,
I know that was you. I remember it.
Yeah. I remember because you took it out on Kalis like a couple minutes later.
I did. It was like 33 or something. I was
You
like, this might
absolutely
hit.
But I've always played campaigns where I've gotten nowhere near a 30. And I'm just, but most of my campaigns only lasted till about level 4 or 5. So I mean, it's really funny to me when I'm just fucking rolling 30s. It's just like, oh, look at me, I feel superhuman.
No, it's
Darren's-
rolling 20s, not rolling 30s.
Yeah. We're not the rolling 31s,
change
man. You gotta quit that.
I'm trying my best not to metagame. I really am, but it's like, oh, pass it out trace. This seems like a spell that makes sense for Theron overall. So like, I'm gonna take it. And then as for his just absolutely absurd attack rolls, it's making up for all the times I think we had a combat round where Theron just missed every shot, and I just felt so fucking
Mhm.
useless.
Mhm.
I was like, this sucks.
It's a good
Yeah,
point.
no,
Like,
I am determined to fully turn Theron into Link. So expect the giant hammer and the big ass sword, and
man.
you're gonna get a mask that when you wear it, you turn into a little
If-
wood nymph.
If there's one thing that I want by the end of this campaign, it's that grappling hook to pull me in a direction. Like I want to be Batman so bad with this thing.
Well, we got Tinny, so
Yeah.
I got you.
that's true.
Yep.
So I guess because we don't see you guys building your characters off screen, as much as you don't want to metagame it, there's still logic in selecting what makes sense for your character. So I'm curious. Again, I always like building characters with flaws seems to be an easy way to be able to roleplay and get into the character's headspace. So I'm wondering if like when building your characters or later I'll get into backstories, like are there things in mind that you're like, this makes sense, but I don't want to? Or I should probably do that to help out the group so we don't all just die.
Building Theron was hard for me because I really wanted to play a paladin really badly. I had a page written for a Oath of Vengeance paladin, and I don't think I'm ever gonna play this character out. So, but he would have, in my head, he would have been basically the Raven Queen's first champion. That's what I was gonna build him up towards be. But Kalis really wanted to play a paladin. I was like, yeah, I'll forfeit this and let you play that. And I had to go to Fraya and ask him. I was like, dude, do you got a cool backstory for like an elf? and he gave me all this information, and I was like, okay. And I started looking through all the classes, and it's like, okay, well, do I play an arcane archer fighter? And then I was like, oh, Horizon Walker, Feywild. This makes sense. And that's how I picked that class. So Theron's very much being built as the story unfolds.
Nice. Melody, any thoughts on Festinia for that?
I think I mentioned this a little bit in the last episode, but yeah, because Tinny was like a guest character, so I kind of built her to be a guest character. So, kind of worked mostly with DM Freya on like her backstory. Like I'd already fleshed her out a little bit because she was a like a backup character that I wanted to play for a different campaign.
Right.
Yeah, but mostly for her, I kind of just figured out like her I figured out her personality and then like what her motivations would be. And then just the fact that she really likes fire and blowing things up and making stuff, and that's just kind of where it went. So I'm definitely still developing her as well as we
Part
go.
of me feels really bad that we haven't been able to see that wild side yet.
It's true. I think the whole disease thing really puts a bit of a damper on
a
her
little
normally
bit.
very light.
Yeah.
What's your priorities?
yeah, it kind of puts stuff in a new perspective for sure.
Yeah,
Point.
it's a very different side of Tinny.
And spoiler alert, all I'm going to share on this is Tinny is not the same level as the party.
It's true, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's true.
I was going to ask if you've been leveled up in game or haven't reached that yet. So, okay.
Has not happened in game, at least with Tinny. But
Right,
Tinny
right.
is, in fact, not the same level as everyone else.
Interesting.
Yep. There's your trivia for the day. There's my one secret I will share.
See you in 2 weeks for one more secret.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, back to the fight. The Kitwala. Theron hits the Kitwala again. It looks maybe drowsy. Some people see that it's probably going to be drowsy again. But Volcar dashes, Quilly runs, Milo runs, Kalis decides to be the martyr, fly right in front of Kitwala's face.
Yeah.
And as my note says, such a stupid note. Kalis gets slobber knocked just right into the absolute, just smashed. Tinny heals Kalis and then runs.
Oh yeah, hanging off the wall. I like that. That was a good moment.
Yes.
Spider-Man moment.
Yes.
I actually, I want to see that drawn now. It's just super intense, just old, beat up, bronze armored Kalis for this, just intensely facing off with this thing, just gets swatted over toward Tinny, who's just little chibi Tinny, who just, hi.
Yep.
In the background.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
So then that round, it falls again. And as Freya pointed out, it's tired of this shit. It's so... There was so much description of, like, there's old battle wounds of almost the exact same spot where Theron hit with the trank dart. There's just tired old eyes. It's like both pleading for it to stop and also like, all right, again, I get it. Which, how, I guess, lore building, lore-wise, is there only one Kitwala? Are there only a few? Is this just...
There are multiple. No one cared to ask more. I can share a little bit, though, as Perry probably wouldn't have been able to stop himself from divulging it. There are only a handful of them, and they have absolutely no concept of how old they are. They just know that they have been around since before the war. All of the ones in the area, the very same individuals, have all been around since before the war. So they are presumably at least 200 years old.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Almost as old as Darren.
Yeah, and who knows? They could be 4,000. They're
Mhm.
It is entirely unknown, but yeah, there are a handful of them. Probably for the best that there aren't a lot of them, because they are incredibly territorial with each other. That's why it's usually easy to find them, because they have their own territories. So if there were, let's say, 500 of them running around the desert, it would be a battlefield, and
Yes.
you know,
What I'm hearing is in another multiverse, this is a Pacific Rim campaign.
yes, pretty much,
Just a
yeah.
bunch of Godzillas. Just
Yeah. Yep. And
Well,
he is
actually-
a constructor of giant bots.
Probably
hell yeah. Want that reality
around the
to
time of the
happen.
war, or before. I mean, we can do this as a one shot. That sounds awesome. Around the time of the war, a little bit of insider knowledge that, you know, there's no way anyone in game would know. For the first like 70-ish years after the war, pretty much all that survived the war was Vasselheim. So there wasn't really any other stuff, and the reason things have spread so quickly is because of magic makes that easier. That's why there's other cities and stuff now. But for the first, especially 30 or 40 years, everyone was just holed up in Vasselheim trying to, you know, live and recover. And what this meant was kind of like what happened with COVID. The wildlife started replenishing over a longer period in a magical place. And so Isilra, until 50 or 60 years ago, was literally Monster Hunter, the continent. Because during the war, it unleashed all new sorts of magical energies out into the realm, and the people were pretty much all contained in one spot. So all the effects of that essentially went into the natural world and the beasts thereof. And there's a reason Vasselheim is still so largely focused on hunting and the birth heart, even though it's not as crucial as a function nowadays, because that is the only reason that people still exist, is the absolute chads who went out from Vasselheim to go find these things that would make an ancient dragon seem practically worthless, essentially titans and Shadow of the Colossus sort of things for a while. And so there was this period of, if you leave the city, you are very likely going to die to something that you do not even understand how it functions or when or how it got there. So it is likely at some point there was a bunch of Kitwalas or something even larger that was related to them, some kind of mutation or magical thing or ancestor. So who knows? Maybe we can explore some of that eventually, but Isora 100 years ago was chaotic. despite the low population and one settlement.
Most of that description was in his campaign description, and that's why I joined. I was like, this sounds so disconnected from Critical Role and the idea of forming a group and going out there and exploring the very dangerous unknown was like a big pull for me for joining the campaign.
And that's a big reason why I still have these creatures that are not in the monster manual. There's recently, those of you who know Monster Hunter will recognize the Kitwala is not my creation. I have added a couple details and changed the name and stuff. So some Monster Hunter stuff just because it's way too cool not to. But a lot of stuff that I just make or tweak. And I don't feel the need to explain it because, again, 60 years ago, that was everything. And so that's why the understanding of what's out there is still relatively low compared to how advanced the civilization may feel for the time. So, yeah, there's that little fun tidbit there, and why the party isn't completely losing their minds when they find new stuff that no one knows about, because it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you go places. So.
Nice. Kind of drag us back to the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's run away from the Kitwala, and we start our slightly scary rope climb. Derek pulls up Quilly. These are just quick and dirty notes. Derek pulls up Quilly.
Yeah,
Tinny
there's a lot.
encourages Theron.
Oh yeah.
Theron, I think you
I got my
didn't
legs.
roll well.
That is it. Yeah. Well, I had a backup plan, but yeah, I didn't roll well. I spent it all on the shots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Got to roll
Vol-
low sometime.
Volcar Angels, Tinny and Milo, so I'm assuming he just spread his wings and just like, come here.
Yep.
Yep.
Even the tinny's like, I'm fine up the wall. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you all make it back to Perry. There seems to be a gap in notes, but whatever. We're basically back there now. Everyone got out safe.
Yeah, I mean, there's no gap. It was a quick thing. Everyone just climbed out. They were unharried. Things went so well that it was like, whatever, man. I'm not going to push the issue too much.
Yeah. I
So
think
if it was closer,
you might have fast traveled.
Smooth. Personally.
Yeah, if it was a less clean endeavor, there would have been some sloppiness trying to get out of there. But it was like, yeah, fuck this, not today.
I rolled enough nat ones on Kitwala's constitution. He's tired. Or it's tired.
Koala.
Yeah, that for it too.
Above board, Tinny 100% wants to like find a way to befriend this Koala and like make the moss gathering process like a
Aw.
sustainable, like cohabitable thing.
Yeah.
Aaron wants nothing to do with it. He got hit one time. And he's like, I am fine with leaving this thing underground.
He understands Perry's outlook very much. He's like, okay, yeah, this thing rough.
Yep.
But yeah, so get back out to Perry, and we fix a mistake from
We
old.
fix a mistake from old, and we add a very important member to the party.
Mm-hmm.
Kaelus's horse.
Yep.
Who has not been named yet.
Who has not been named. My note here is, oh my god, we're trying to name another thing with a bunch of exclamation points and question marks, because those ideas were rough.
I remember
were.
we found a horse early on, and at the time I was just sitting there and I was just like, we're supposed to be like heading further north, and I mean, if we take this thing with us, it's gonna fucking die. But then I realized it's like, oh my god, Fraya just gave us a free fucking horse. We should have took it. I was not thinking that way at the time, but I was like, looking back,
I had a little chart of stuff that could have happened that day, and someone, I believe, natural 20'd it. It was a 19 or a 20. And I give you a horse in response, and everyone's like, go back to camp, silly, and leave. So I was like, what the fuck? Okay. Do you want to know the fun part? I'll tell you this now because it's certainly not ever coming back again. That was my actual biggest folder rip up that I would have had. Because there's a whole thing where that was actually not one of the horses from the camp. That was someone who had recently been through an unfortunate set of circumstances and ended up being cursed.
Oh shit! So,
Yes, it was a lizard folk who was turned into a horse.
Wow.
by
You
nature
guys-
of
I
the
know
hag
what
mother.
to say.
The hag
Take
mother.
the horse.
There were so many things there. Yeah, have you ever checked
You
there's
literally
one
looked at your
there's one
horse in
thing
the
in the Vesper
mouth.
Timberlands that no one's asked me about what it's for, and it's just all the stuff I had written for it now is just it's still relevant, but I handed you away. That was gonna come up, and that was just on the chart for traveling in the area around that time. That wasn't specifically that episode thing, and you got it on the first roll, and then you all just gave up on it. And so who knows what happens after it made it to camp? If it made it to camp.
That's fucking awesome.
Well, now
Yeah.
every horse we come across is
Yeah, it's like,
gonna
is this one
be
cursed? Is this one
there.
cursed? Yeah.
Only one.
Yeah, and so
guys
that's
are gonna
why
be-
it was so hilarious to me, because I was looking at this and I was like, this is genuinely one of the coolest side quests I've ever made in my life.
Wow.
If no one watches this this podcast episode from the main group, no one will understand why Tinny and Theron are obsessed about every horse, like how everyone was obsessed about
Oh my
flying
god,
ships.
Theron, look a
before.
horse!
Yep.
Yeah,
It'll just be like a secret look between the two characters. Like, well, you think what I'm thinking? This fucking horse
Let's
is a
detect
dude.
magic on this thing. Yeah, right.
Cast a spell
Yeah.
magic on the horse.
No,
Oh, we
it was a
never did that
really
either. We
it was
just-
a
I mean,
really
we never
no.
did that.
You did nothing. You tried to ride it, you tried to name it, and then you gave up on it.
I think I even brought in that podcast. It was like, why did you guys not take the horse?
I know.
Our group is very tunnel vision. Like if we're given a mission, like we just go fucking do it. We don't try to sidetrack.
Yeah, you are very
Most of you.
focused.
Most.
I was gonna say, except one of you who has a different focus. But yeah, so anyway, there's more trivia for you now that I've officially decided I'm not gonna bring back the horse randomly. That horse was a guy, and that guy was a lizard. And that lizard had an interesting life and experiences and a lot of very useful things you could have potentially learned from, and maybe an alliance between a lizard folk tribe and a giant tribe, and one of my favorite NPCs ever created, who is just probably gone now.
In
Yeah.
your defense, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. You got enough on your plate as is. So-
Sure. No, it's fair. And again, I'm well aware, like, there are things that I prep so heavy into, and I'm like, there's a higher chance this doesn't happen than the chance that this does happen. But if it does, I'm ready for it. And the cool thing is, like, I now have that entire quest line written. I can throw that at any group whenever with mild modification, and we're done. So it's not like wasted time or anything. It's just like, well, y'all missed some cool stuff, so on to the other cool stuff, I guess.
To get out of speaking of tunnel vision, let's get back to the episode recaps.
Mm-hmm.
Next note is just Tinny on Kalis on horse. Where Kalis and Festinia take Kalis's spectral horse back to camp. So that
and
Tinny-
Milo.
And Milo.
Oh yeah, that's right. Milo
He's
got
thrown at him.
on.
There's a
Thrown
great
out there.
moment. Yep.
Those three get back to camp. Milo nets horse. The horse, then we've learned, might have telepathy. Well, no, I guess has telepathy and just talks to Milo right now. That or Milo thinks the horse talks to it.
No one knows.
No one knows yet.
I'm pretty sure Aaron has to speak with animals. He's just genuinely not interested in trying to fucking talk to it.
Yeah, he just
Perfect.
wants to eat it, as we've learned.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Our next note is Tinny gets medicinized,
I do indeed.
which is a way to phrase that.
Yeah, it is true.
You guys harvested a lot of the moss. And from that, I believe you have 1 month of supplies to help Tinny not succumb to the illness.
We hope.
We hope.
Best case, yeah, maybe.
Okay, so then we're immediately thrown into Zilphine backstory, which is fun. Was it Zentha? That was just like
a
Oh,
whole bunch of
I'm
background there. Yeah.
I'm rambling on again, but anyway, Zilphine's nicer than she seems. Is friends with Zentha. Then basically is like, why did you go into? Well, no wonder she's so upset with you. You literally tried to steal from her. Fools. Anyway, got into. No, notes come back. Notes come back. Zilphine lost their significant other in a battle, to which Volkar's like, what battle? Where was it?
Yeah, right? Where did he die?
Of course, Volkar's trying to put together, is it for Thunderhead?
Yeah, he just doesn't
Um,
get that across very well in typical Volkar
No.
fashion.
Correct.
Very
Um,
blunt.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think you picked up too many other main tidbits there. Correct me if I'm wrong. But AKA, my notes don't have it. So if I missed something, let me know. Um,
Let's see. Offhand, I think that's most of it because the rest of the conversation is kind of more about like go get prepared because we got to leave. Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the big
Right.
stuff.
Break off into groups, shop, talk to the others. Milo goes immediately up to the horse. They stare down until a minute and a half later in game. The horse turns around and just puts one word in Milo's head: pathetic.
Is everyone shitting on Milo this episode? This
Every episode.
no,
Yeah,
this one
yeah, he is.
especially. This one's harsh, man. You're all standing in a circle, and everyone's just like, "Fuck you, Milo," and he just leaves, and the horse is like, "You suck, dude."
I just see it as
And-
like it's not probable that a horse would speak to another person, so Theron's just like, yeah, sure, Milo, yeah,
Sure,
sure, the horse is talking to you, man, all right.
Her kid's making up stories to get attention again.
Yeah,
oh, he's crying
pretty
wolf
much.
again.
Yeah,
Yep.
who cried horse?
Uh, Derek gives Blessed Scrolls out to the Red Bull boys. Kalis talks to Tinny, and this is where Danny finally hits the point a little harder. Kalis, after talking with everyone, has a book that is not Kalis's prayer book, and at some point into it has pages yes, maybe, and no. And I believe the note here was there is no tallies under yes. And there are some after Kalis's talk with Tinny. I believe he puts the tally mark under maybe.
Yep.
Which on an earlier podcast, Danny was like, "Oh, have you caught the one thing that I've done after talking with everyone?" I'm like, "I think so." And then hearing that, I'm like, "That was it. That was the thing." So.
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait to see if that comes up more.
Yeah.
He's got his secrets.
I actually
Mhm.
don't even know what it's for. I
He
don't know
didn't
what he's
tell you?
doing. No, I don't know. He's done a lot of stuff with Kalis that like is like intrapersonal, and I'm just like, I'll learn too, I guess.
I, have no
I
idea,
think,
but
you know,
I don't wanna say
Kalis has said, like, or Danny said Kalis thinks he's never saved anyone, or at least hasn't saved anyone. So I'm wondering if it's the tally of people that he's
That
thought
was my guess.
he might save.
When I verbalized that to Danny, he was like, "Yeah." So I don't know if he's just poorly trying to hide it or if it is only partially correct, but that was where my mind went. But I don't know.
Finish out this episode. Perry gives Theron trank darts and flash pods made from the miracle fruit. Apparently, the miracle fruit has everything you could possibly need from it.
Yep.
Derek gives not Timmy notes. Thank you, autocorrect. It's Tinny with N's, not M's. Thank you, notes. Featherfall scroll, which I believe gets used in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll talk. Oh, that's right. The Derek basically was using his old salesman caravan ways to talk up.
Spell scrolls.
Yes,
I almost
the
forgot
spell
about
scroll.
that. Yeah.
That was
was so
so funny.
Very
Isn't
interesting.
there a
Love
moment where someone just randomly cuts in and says something on Bitcoin?
I think it was
Maybe.
in that
Danny.
conversation. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something like that. I remember it killed me.
So good. Then you all head to the bar. Man, I didn't actually attribute this quote to anyone. I think I know who said it, but I can't do a full official spot of who said it. But it's I wonder how a tattoo would look in 400 years.
Oh man,
I think that was me.
talking
I
about
think
this.
that
Was
was
it?
me on
I
the
think it was either
topic
you.
of elves being very
I
old.
think
Elves
so.
having thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
or Izzy.
It could have. Danny chimed in on it too. I
Did he?
remember.
I know there was some dialogue, and I know it
Yeah.
involved you at some point,
Yeah.
Blair, but I think I might have been the one to start it.
Yeah, because all going through my mind is like Theron absolutely does not want to get scrimshot.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
like,
So
there's like fuck no.
for the viewers at the bar, Volkar immediately wants to tattoo or scrimshaw
Yeah, Scrimshaw
Theron
tattoo.
for Theron's amazing work with Kitwala. And Theron's not having it, but did
Yeah,
give Volkar his bow.
Theron,
Which
yeah, he's not a person that collects trophies of any kind, and he definitely does not want a tattoo on his body.
yeah. I mean, at that point, it's like, wow, look what you did. And he's like, bro, I fought in Vietnam. Like, get out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come on, what the hell?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he gets his bow scrimshawed by Volkar, which is pretty cool. I like that that's becoming a recurring thing.
that's true. It's very nice.
And then nothing else happens important in the
Nothing
episode,
else
and
happens.
everything's fine.
Yep, Quilly doesn't black out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Do you actually want to go into this? Because there was
Yeah, we can
one
go into it.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
I left everyone around to listen as much as they wanted to.
That's
So
right. That's
this
right.
is not a secret because I had
is
to
not.
let something come through.
Right.
Got to keep the players
Um,
entertained.
Right. So we get a lot more of Quilly's backstory, or at least a very
A weird
very-
vacation.
weird vacation. That's a great way to put it. Quilly at least now knows what. Oh, gosh, I'm missing all the beats other than mom kind of just came along and went, okay, we're out of here.
Yep, she knows what her mom looks like, but
Yes.
the TLDR of the vision was essentially her as a child wandering down to a bad part of the city, getting lost, ending up going to an airship because it was familiar to her, and it turns out there's some kind of horrible Colosseum-like death match happening directly in front of her, and she wanders much closer to it than one would want a young child to, and her mother very worriedly comes and takes her away and says, we're gonna take a trip after this one.
Mm-hmm. That happens. There's totally no other things that happen at the very end of that episode, and we'll move on to the next one.
I keep forgetting to mention the episode names before we talk about them, but episode 13 was Yes, Maybe No, inspired by Kalis's
Book.
sad boy bit at the end. And we will now be discussing episode 14, The Arms of Elysium, Part 1.
Time of recording, so plenty time. Since, if you're listening to this, part 2 just went live an hour ago, our recording time.
Yep, it was supposed to be yesterday, but YouTube fucked up, so I had to reschedule it. And hey, what do you know? It's live.
That sounds like YouTube.
Yep, it's great.
It's great. All right, so on to episode 14. And my notes will now include episode titles. Thanks, Fraya.
Fair.
It starts out with a claustrophobia warning. We will get to that in the second half of the episode because things are going to get a little tight.
Slightly.
But stuck between a rock and a rock place. But if you've been following along, you know that this group is going to basically traverse the tunnels behind the place they're supposed to go, Boy, my notes are bad.
The Arbs of Elysium.
Yes. Oh, that's the episode title. Why?
It's fine. No, to be fair, there are so many fucking names and places that come up in this. There's a reason I have 5 gigabytes of campaign prep, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So
see, I delete my notes after each episode, which is bad. I should actually have paper notes to write down places and names, because I am notoriously bad for that. And I write down everything on character sheets, but I don't have a character here, so maybe I should really make
you can
another
print
note
out a
on my
character
phone.
sheet, and it'll just be like Ben, class, host, subclass,
Human.
podcast host, and you can take all the character notes you want.
I'm playing a character when I'm playing a host.
See, exactly.
Actually, with half the voices I put on, it's not inaccurate. But enough about me. Quilly, after totally blacking out from drinking, goes to bed. Before everyone else does, Volkar proposes a game that I really want to see play out in some D&D tavern called Knifey Knifey Stab, where someone is invisible and I presume runs around the bar, and if they get stabbed, they have to take a shot.
Yeah,
a very Volkar game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think too much on it when it happened, because we did kind of gloss over when Quilly woke up. Everyone was like, "You good?" And Quilly was like, "No." And everyone was like,
No.
"Shit." And she was like, "Yeah, I'm going to bed." And they were like, "Damn." But in 15 minutes.
I wish Jimmy had been there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
Vines grew
That's
out
why
of
I asked.
Quilly.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think it made sense.
Yeah. But, yeah. Anyway,
everyone-
knifey stab.
Knifey Stab needs to happen.
Might see it one day.
Darren
won't participate, but you might see it one day.
Before everyone goes to bed. Wait, where did my notes go?
Uh-oh.
There we go. Before everyone goes to bed, that's right, we have our first round of Who Said It in episode 14, which was a great quote. Beyonce is canon in all worlds.
That was Izzy. I feel like that was Izzy, yeah.
Yes, they had a great way to start.
I forgot about the Beyonce talk.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What the fuck? We were fucking zany that night, huh?
Yes.
Hey, started that session off light.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
Did not stay that way.
No.
My next note is because I was listening to this part of the episode as I was driving to work, and I was just behind a PT Cruiser whose vanity license plate said Soft PT, which took me forever to decipher. And I'm like, oh, it's just a soft top PT Cruiser. But I'm like, soft PT? What is that, a medical thing? Is that...
They're a modern pirate, and their name is Soft Petey.
But yeah, I have an idea for a guest character that I've...
Yeah, we have a conversation to have now, huh?
Theron asks about other applications of the moss from Dewdrop, which
we did skip a highlight I just remembered from the bar conversation.
Yes.
Which is the Red Bull boys, surprise, have a dramatic bonding moment talking about religion and mentioning a shared spiritual experience they had a while ago, to which I remember seeing Melody's face as they were talking about it, like, what do those words mean when put like that? And we learn why the backstories of their nicknames. And that was a fun part, because I didn't know one of them, so I learned it then as well. That was just Josh. I don't know if he knew that or if that was all improv, but I was unaware of that, and I thought that was a particularly cool little scene. Yeah. Further setting the difference from the overzealous, but for the most part has his shit together Kalis, and the absolute wild card, sometimes dumpster fire, sometimes legend, that is Volkar, getting his name from almost getting eaten by a bunch of crows as a child is pretty immaculate.
I did accidentally glaze over that note, but when you see the word Beyonce, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's fair.
It's right next to that.
Fair.
Yeah. But to be fair, Beyonce does sound like some kind of elven warrior class. So
Yeah.
expect there might be some Beyonce in the future.
As long as you don't just roll yourself into a Beyonce encounter and go, no, never mind.
She's the next horse that we encounter.
Oh God!
Oh no, we found the name for Kalis'
Why?
horse. Anyway, you're gonna. This is quote that's not even going to be a game because everyone knows what happens. I think I'm done horsing around. Milo says. Milo goes to sleep,
Yeah. Oh, Milo.
and
What a
then Darren, because there's never any restful or uneventful sleep time when Fraya is
No.
DM. Darren has a dream, vision, something.
What he's had before.
Yes.
Sort of.
Which I just went.
Sort of. Variation of it.
Not everything is revealed to the listeners. I remember that part distinctly because my note is just like, what's the opposite of dramatic irony? What's there a no? So I should probably let Freya recap this.
Oh, well, simply put, to what one who has witnessed the scene would know, Theron
Yes.
is back in what starts out as word for word the exact vision he got from the siren.
Mm-hmm.
Only this time there's some extra dialogue and an unspecified figure that those who paid attention may be able to piece together, but it is not directly stated. And how do I word this? I like being cryptic still. There are signs of perhaps closer standings between two individuals than one would expect.
Favor. Might be a good word.
And maybe, and maybe some subliminal messaging going on. That's how I'll word this here. At least for now. We'll see how the talk goes. But that is, to start the conversation, that is the core of what happens here. And Ben, feel free to dig as far into this as you want to. If anything that I don't want in the public eye is said, I remove it from the recording.
That's fair.
So this is not live. So we can delve into this. And I will say, Blair, especially during the scene, probably didn't know as much as you think he might have known. This was a learning experience for all parties involved. So I will set that there. That despite Blair's cool face for it, I'm sure the mind was filled with lots of questions.
I'm just rolling with it. I'm actually having fun with it, to be honest with you. Like once I realized, I was like, how am I gonna do this? Like, oh, this character from this show, I can basically just rip this and use it. And if I do it well, it'll be a pleasant surprise for everybody. So, yeah.
Is the first instance, that's a bad way to phrase it. Has the most this siren character, have they had more screen time before recording or since starting?
Since starting.
Since starting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
You could ask whatever you want. If Blair's gonna cut it out, I mean,
Yeah.
I can
It's
spill the beans. I don't
all
mind.
we know of the siren is there. And sure, you can spill some beans. I'll let Melody out on some secrets. You already know more than the party about half the world already, so
All right. I will say there is a seed that's been planted in Theron's mind that he cannot trust the party.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm subtly trying to play at, and thankfully we've been given a really good situation to where Theron can kind of be doing his own thing without it looking very, very suspicious. But I was, when Fraya was telling me that, okay, well, you're going to gradually come to mistrust the party and question their actions and all that stuff, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But then I thought, oh my God, Crosshair from the Bad Batch. It's like, this is perfect. Like, nobody part of that team knew that Crosshair was going through a fundamental change in his mind until it happened. So the seam's kind of going for Theron is he's not completely mistrustful of the party, but it's getting to the point where he's slowly distancing himself with everything. Yeah,
and that
it's
is
a big
of
reason
course.
why. Yeah,
I just want to say that is due to the influence of some outside figure.
Yeah. So a big one is later on in the episode is the dog. I really didn't want to harm the dog personally, but in normal circumstances, Theron would allow Volkar and Kalis to, heal the dog and nurture the dog and all that stuff. But from Theron's kind of twisted psyche, he was just like, this dog needs to be taken out of the equation so we can move on. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Me and Frey
I'm
are
sure.
playing with it, and we're going to see how much it ramps up and where it leads.
Yeah, so just to set that, I
yeah.
described the whole scene, I said the whole thing, and then afterward I sent him what it meant in game. So he didn't even know what was happening until the end of that scene. And this was a thing that is the consequence of something with a D20 that happened a long time ago in the story.
Yep.
I'm playing the slow game here, of course. But so there you go, Melody. There's some background info. Theron is under some influence and is beginning to distrust the party. And which might explain a couple things that have happened recently, which we won't discuss today. But Ben, you look like you have questions.
Oh, so many. But I'm not going to outright say, hey, who's the Siren character? Did the Siren character give the overall group a quest?
What do you mean by that?
Like, did whoever the Siren is also give the group a quest? Or an option for a quest, basically?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing with the orb. That's kind of the time limit that they're on there. But she didn't give anyone necessarily an individual.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was alluding to, and then that makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah.
That's who I thought. Anyway, back to the episode. The other person who had a dream that night was Festinia, who slept okay. Definitely not as big overarching implications, but definitely big implications as Tinny feels a lot better. Tinny feels, well, I mean, for now.
For now.
Yeah. You don't, I think when you woke up, like Volkar was like, oh, you look great. But Melody, or you played Tinny, he's like, maybe I am.
I don't know. It's really the interesting part to me is that it looks different to me than like how it looks to other people.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't know. Tinny, for the moment, feels great. She got medicinized, as you said.
That is nice. Ben, do you have any theories? There might have been some particular wordings in what was said to our dear Tinny in that, and I don't know if you caught anything that might have induced a new train of thought. If not, that's fine. It was kind of subtle for a reason. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Not yet. I might have still been thinking about soft PT at that point. Terrible. What's next? Oh, the group goes shopping. Yay! And you get potions and climbers kits, which don't include rope, and rations. 'Cause you'll be in a cave, so you might want to eat.
Might. Theron gets all the Mullen information from Dewdrop.
Yep.
That was great, by the way. That was a very good character moment, and for me, it was also good because it was like not an afterthought, but Theron was like, "I'm gonna go do all my cool shit first, and then I'll help the nerds out with their info." Is kind of how it played out. So I like that, but that was very good. I assure you, Lulu will appreciate the fuck out of that.
Yeah, I figured that it's highly unlikely that the Cobalt Souls made it out here at this time. And they're all about building connections and finding new things to research and test. So it's like, yeah, I should probably grab like a couple of research notes on this and bring this back and try and put these two groups in contact with each other.
See what implications that might have later.
Yeah.
Oh boy, do I not like what I wrote down next. That's right. It's another round of Who Said It? And I don't even entirely understand it. And I listened to that earlier today. What do you see with your elven tongue?
God, who said that? Was that?
I don't know. It feels like a Josh. A Josh is.
Yeah. Josh or
the fuck?
Jesus or Danny, either one of the two of them.
I think Josh is my final guess.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
That's a good final guess because it is Josh, but he's talking about the horse.
Yeah, I think eating the horse is now a running gag.
It kind of is. Yeah.
Which is really funny because now I think about it in retrospect, we kind of did not discuss what happened to the horse as we went into this cave.
No, you didn't. And there's a reason I didn't bring it up because it didn't actually end up mattering, but it wasn't discussed. And Kalis also doesn't know because he didn't apparently care enough to do anything about it. But I know what happened in the background, but it wasn't worth bringing up. Hence why I didn't. But yeah, good catch there.
Tinny, oh my goodness, Tinny, you have gifted one of the best items that I'm so excited to see more in this game. What did you give Quilly? I'll let you even describe it.
Oh, yeah, I gave her a pair of mechanical phoenix wings, basically. So yeah, she can use them a couple times a day to fly for a minute. Cast Featherfall, that's what the Featherfall scroll is used for.
Yeah.
Figured that made sense because she's like, I'm not going to use the scroll. That's real.
I'll burn this before I use it, yeah.
She'll just forget all. It's a piece of paper, she'll forget all about it.
Get lost under all the other blueprints and notes.
Exactly.
Aw. Or get blown up at some point. So yeah, which I believe then brings the total of characters who can fly on there without a spell being, well, no, that's a bad way to phrase it. Who has the ability to make themselves fly 4 at this point?
Yep. Only me and Milo cannot fly.
Tinny can theoretically make everyone fly, but it's just very slow speed. So you could at least hover.
Yeah. So 4, arguably 5 out of 7 at the moment, can fly. So yeah, as soon as Melody was like, I want to spend the next couple days building something for someone, I think, or making potions. And I was like, what do you want to make? And she's like, well, I saw Quilly was struggling with heights, and I kind of want to help with that, and I want to build Quilly some wings. And I was like, so much of me hates this because I have to DM for a group that can fly at level 5, all of them easily, multiple times a day now. And Oh my god! But also, I can't say no to it because it's so good for both roleplay and just mechanically, and the image of the like 5'1" curly orange haired fucking savage child flying around with an axe is just too good. Because rage and flight last the same duration. So why not just do them both at once and just have a minute of pure chaos? So it was too good to disallow that. And you natural 20 building it, so.
It's true.
I
Yeah.
have to go. I am obligated to be at work for a couple hours today. But
Sorry.
no, you're good. But I did have fun. So enjoy the rest of your conversation, folks.
Will do.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, and I'll
Hanging
see two you guys on Thursday.
See ya. Take care.
Take care,
See
guys.
ya.
All right. It's down to 3 real quick.
It happens.
Yeah. Where were we? Steampunk Wings. This is the way I wrote it.
They are.
You're not
very.
wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Doesn't Quilly roll wild magic when she rages, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a minute light, raging, and wild magic.
Yeah, I'm aware.
That's
I've done the math on this one.
I came here to break the game.
that's
Things
so
get weird.
great.
Yeah, things get weird. Especially considering 2 of the people who can fly also have an item that will let them teleport to each other as well. Which hasn't ever come up yet somehow. It's one of the coolest things that I've made in an item, and it hasn't really been used.
It was at least discussed on the airship air elemental battle.
It was discussed, but it wasn't used.
I don't think it was used. Yeah.
No, it was kind of the passive knowing where each other currently are. That's what was used. But yeah. What I'm trying to say is the party is going to be really hard to stop in 2 levels. But
you'll find a way.
yeah, I'll do something.
All right. So then we have the Zentha huddle of like, all right, here's the plan. Here's everyone be safe. Text me when
She's
you get home.
very much mom getting off the bus on your 5th grade field trip.
Yes.
Which I wasn't expecting from Zentha, like just from how she was like described to me initially. But then,
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, her life and her personality seem entirely incongruent. So I kind of love her. But yeah, she's worried and is like, all right, we're going to go do this and please don't die. And then you
Please don't die. Just
teleport out to the mountains. The
Yes.
outskirts of the standstill desert.
Mm-hmm. And the group enters the cave. And this is the last half of the episode. And I felt the anxiety. Fraya, you picked great music for this.
It's tense, man. It is tense. I wasn't expecting this. Like, I think I said it like still in the recording. I thought this was just gonna be a quick series of skill checks.
Nope.
And like it was half a fucking episode. And I think even the pacing of it, especially with how zany everyone, especially Blair, is being, I think the entertainment value is still really there, just in terms of like,
Oh yeah.
how weird we were being, and it was very homoerotic, which we'll cover, among many other things.
You know it.
And it keeps switching between that and just gut-wrenching fear, and I'm like, this can't be pleasant, so I'm sorry everyone who had to watch that.
No, it was good.
It was unexpected.
Also, Blair left, so I am now unbanned from talking about Theron.
Yes! I actually messaged Mikey on the break and was like, hey, in 20 minutes, can you act like there's something important to get Blair out of here so we can talk about Theron's ass?
Perfect. Which means at the end of episode 13, I can go back and do another Who Said It? That's right. Have you seen his ass? He's got to work out constantly.
Oh, God, I have no idea. That could have been anyone, I think.
Anybody.
Yeah.
And yet it was you, Freya.
Yeah, I believe it.
We get into the caves, and almost immediately we'll sum up a good 15-20 minutes of jokes into one quote that's just, "Help me, step party, I'm stuck." Which was
it's so
a much
good. The clips from this episode are gonna be chaos.
No,
they're gonna be fucked. I know, yeah. Casey's working on those, but
excellent.
Help me, step party, I'm stuck.
God, which is very needed comedic relief for the tense. Again, you thought it would just be quick skill checks, but no. My note is just tense climbing down scene, but like it's so hard to convey the wonderful way you described everyone feeling completely entrapped, only able to move very slowly, letting the darkness and the not quite labyrinth, but just desolate, not even desolation, just entrapment, I guess, of this cave weigh in on every character's psyche and make Constitution saving throws. It's just the
Charisma,
way.
actually, I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, charisma.
Yep.
Charisma. I don't. You were right.
Well, I think a lot of people would use Constitution or potentially like Wisdom. What's that?
Look at that.
There
It
it is.
says charisma saving throws.
In the note. But I think most people wouldn't have done charisma.
No.
But I chose it because
Makes sense.
So I'm flattered. Thank you for liking my descriptions of being stuck in a cave. There's not many things that I can just outright say in any situation I will be scared of, but that's one of them. 100%. Caves are terrifying, and so I've done a lot of thinking on what it would be like, and I think that comes out during this. But
it does.
Yeah, I chose charisma because to me it felt way more. It doesn't matter how fit you are, like to a degree it will. Like if you're more physically fit, you will probably be more easily able to deal with it. But it's entirely how strong your sense of presence is, and like just sheer will of personality to not let something that we are biologically hardwired to be terrified of for good reason, not to let that stop you from what you're doing. So that's why I went with charisma there, if anyone was wondering. I know Constitution could have also made sense, but I wasn't checking. They didn't have enough of this to necessarily have me consider it a test of physical stamina. That makes sense. But I see the argument for both.
I feel like Constitution's great for poisons, both alcohol and others, whereas charisma feels you're very very rah, very. I know it like mental battles, whereas Constitution feels like a physical battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was kind of looking at it as just literally just keeping yourself calm, and that's very much it's mental, but I think a lot of it in this case would be more emotional, as it's very primal sort of parts of the brain activating in this. So
right.
Yeah, and it was rough. Like even though most of the roles were solid, to be honest. Poor Quilly didn't have fun with this one.
Quilly, anytime there's tense traversing, poor Quilly. Bridges, airships, caves.
Actually, I'll hold my tongue. But yes, you are correct. Poor Quilly, anytime they do anything outside of a city, even though Quilly hates the city, as we've discussed before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll kind of let you lead this. Like, we could talk about this for a really long time because there's a lot of good moments that happen, but it's essentially just 2 hours of crawling through caves.
It is.
Except the last, 20 minutes changes a little bit, I think.
A little. What's really difficult is, like, the notes are a little hard to even make without just verbatim going through how you describe everything, how everyone reacts. I tried. But it'll probably end up being a quick discussion. No one prepped enlarge reduce, which would have been the second part of that
Mhm.
would have been great.
Well, it only
Yep.
lasts for a minute.
It
I don't think it'd be
does.
enough.
Well,
It wouldn't have helped that much.
no, that was a big kind of talking point. Melody, you came up with a great roundabout solution to try to cast reduce, and
Yeah.
your so can you explain the owl to me? Tini's
Yeah.
owl.
Sure. So, Faye and I tweaked the alchemist subclass a little bit. So she, like, in addition to being able to make, like experimental elixirs is like what it is. She actually has a stone that she can use in order to like deliver those effects, and that stone is used as the heart of her homunculus, which is her little owl. So her owl can go around and basically, it's like a kind of sentient creature that can deliver the stone kind of outside of her. So one of the effects of her elixirs of the stone is like basically 10 minutes of the alter self spell. So I was like, oh, I can actually just use this. The spell specifies you can determine the target's height, weight, size, like appearance, etc. So I was like, oh, I could just use this and shrink a couple people who need help. So I was like, oh, this is actually, it lasts longer too, and might be able to, yeah.
Absolutely ingenious and way better than enlarge reduce for this situation.
It worked out.
It was
And
very
you
smart.
rolled I think you rolled a nat 20 on this to get the owl past everyone, and your genuine happiness on a good roll was so infectious. Like, I don't know, your reaction literally put a huge smile on my face.
Owls and familiars do not generally have great stats, so you have to roll well otherwise. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was a distinct chance that it just didn't fit there, and it could have gotten in the way. So that was well timed.
my next note, and I kept the autocomplete that my phone was very stubborn. Was tiny Volkswagen.
Okay, so here's the thing. Volkar, before our story began, was working as a guard for Derek's family caravan, and they probably had a Volkswagen, as in stuff that his stuff was in, and he could potentially sleep in and things like that. So I need to canonize the Volkswagen. I will put this in the Rolling 20's chat right now. I'm going to tag Derek and Josh. This is happening live. Okay? We need to canonize
Tiny Volkswagen.
Volkar's caravan wagon being the Volkswagen.
Tinny
Okay.
will build one from scratch.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll have a
okay.
conversation. I can't spoil this for Ben and others, but we will remind me to check back in on that when we're done recording, because I have some news that you are going to love. But anyway, yes, tiny Volkswagen becomes an Oompa Loompa.
Voice the match.
And I don't know if you were watching at this moment, but he starts doing it, and you just see Danny's face immediately accept the reality that he also has to do this now because the precedent has been set. And he like waits to see if it's a joke, and like sentence 3 he's like, oh fuck. So this ended up just at such an amazing surreal time with Quilly like freaking the fuck out, and just like I'm just imagining it from Quilly's point of view, and it's like this horrible fever dream, and she feels like she's suffocating and dying, and there's just weird little gremlin Volkar and Kalis just squeaking and and squirming about behind her. Like that had to be so bad. And yeah, that could have if it were not for the soothing notes and Volkar eventually kind of having a semi-inspirational speech, though maybe too pragmatic to be that beautiful. I decided not to push the issue, but if those hadn't happened, it was likely Quilly was going to 100% lose her shit.
Yeah. God, that was so well timed. Because Quilly, at that point, Quilly failed the first charisma save, so this was Quilly's second point of exhaustion or mental exhaustion.
Yeah.
Both. And then immediately has to deal with gremlin voices that are semi-familiar, semi-dissonant music up ahead. Like that's
Mhm.
just enough to drive anyone insane, even if you made the skill check.
Yeah, and let's remember like that the night before she passed out in this bar and had this horrible realization. So like Quilly already was coming into this not doing too hot. So this was stressful.
Right, and after that bit, Volcar gave the prep talk, which was good enough.
It got the point across.
Yeah. And I think there was another round of skill checks. We ended up with a tally of Quilly at 2 levels of exhaustion, Theron and Volcar at 1.
Yep.
Right around here. Oh, yes. Theron said to go left. Milo immediately went, no, let's go right. Right is always the correct way. And Theron immediately like, no, we're never listening to you. We're going left. You can go right. Goodbye.
Yep.
Which makes some sense with things talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's Milo who's going to follow the directions.
I mean, that's been the dynamic the whole time, so.
Yeah. At this point, you're generous enough to grant a long rest, because pushing forward with levels of exhaustion is not going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a ascending scroll to Zentha.
Yep.
Just be like, hey, we're progressing fine. What time is it? And Zentha replies, middle of the afternoon the next day, so everyone's been in the cave about 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And said, please tell me everyone's okay. Which we are currently. Slight sidetrack into, I think we're taking note of who all can fly. So we now have the Red Bull boys, gender neutral, the Royal boys.
Yes, we have the Royal boys.
The Royal boys. Which
we also figured out, I think after the episode, we figured out that Quilly is, what was the wording? Hang on. It was something great. It was like, Quilly is like essentially 2/3 of the way to becoming a manticore right now, with her wings and her lion,
yes.
lion mane that she wears. Yeah, so that was a great mental image, was to think about the Royal boys and the manticore.
Playing at a local bar near you.
Christ. Well, damn, I need to make this one happen now. It'd probably be Manticore and the Royal Boys. Yeah,
There you go.
that's pretty good. I gotta check that out.
It's another thing going in the Roll20 text.
Yes, it is.
This is a productive podcast.
This is. Yeah, this is great. I didn't know this was a live brainstorming session.
Foreshadowing. We have then in one of the wider areas, we have the starving dog incident, where there is rotting corpses of 2 goats and a starving dog.
Mm-hmm.
Theron wants nothing to do with it. Volcar wants to befriend, feed, possibly tame. I really thought Volcar was going to try to get a companion here.
I did not know what he was going for, but it felt likely.
Yeah. Fed it a bit. And then the dog went to attack, I believe, Kalis, and just smashed into a wall instead.
Yeah.
And everyone just kind of left it. Right? Or did I
Well,
zone out and I missed something?
You missed Theron shot.
Great.
Ed was like,
Theron did
let's
shoot.
fucking go.
Okay.
Yeah. Which,
Perfect.
as we know, made Blair sad, but bit because
But-
of other things. So
Yes. And then we
Yeah.
left it.
and then we
So I
left
missed
it.
that little bit.
Yes.
Good to know. My next note is GPS Tinny.
Mhm.
Tinny has, I believe you said, one heartbeat, like, or in time frame visions. What was the heartbeat again? But Tinny gets visions of like which path to take anytime there's a fork.
Not
Yeah.
visions.
Or
Just
visions.
sort of
senses,
an
I
innate understanding. The heartbeat was like it's kind of generally accompanied with waves of nausea and dizziness and feeling unwell.
Okay.
Which, given whatever affliction is currently happening, is generally further accompanied by pulsing of the veins and things like that. So it's
Gotcha.
if you can imagine, essentially, anytime they would come to a fork. Moving forward, they would stop for a moment, and Tinny would stand there and look around until suddenly she felt like vomiting and just like pulsed and veins and eyes and maybe bleeding from the nose and stuff for a few seconds. So not just like turn left ahead, like if your GPS
Turn
was
left.
actively feeling like it was dying in order to give you directions. It's sort of one of those. So not a pretty sight, but perhaps a useful function that is not understood by anyone involved, and no one really questions it.
Yeah. Ba, ba, ba,
Not
ba,
worrisome at
and
all.
the last room we get to before the end of the episode, we have a wonderful range of stealth checks from 17 to 41.
Yes, we do.
This room has a monster that makes a growl clicking monster noise. Good job, Ben. Good note taking.
There it is.
Thank you. I was really
Mhm.
hoping you would do that.
Of course I will.
Yes. So I believe that we get the description of the monster, which is up on the ceiling.
Yep.
And it's another one of those. I'm like, have I fought this in Monster Hunter? We'll find out.
You'll find out.
We'll find out, because then there's also a different roar that comes from another part of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's how the episode ends.
I know. I know.
Wonderful.
Very
Cave
distinctly
hanger.
different before and after break feelings from this one.
Mhm.
So yeah, I felt the warning at the front. Like, I can't put content warnings for everything because don't watch the show then. I'm sorry, there's too much. Arguably I should have put one for 15. Let's be honest. Though I did not. But very specific things I like to do that with. So it felt necessary for this one because, especially when I was editing it, I was looking and I was like, damn, this is like almost 2 hours of stress.
It's tense.
It's very tense. And again, handled well, pretty lucky on the rolls. Let's say 5 of you all failed on the first one.
Gosh.
This is a very different story now. So the
Yeah.
rolls were just
Fine.
good enough that like things didn't go very wrong.
I think we
Which-
even established in that last section the DC was 15.
It was,
which
and there
burned
were a
on
few like
inspiration dice or
16s.
two.
There was a 15, there was some 16s.
Yeah, you're like a 16, yeah.
The people were like right on it, and I was like, you are cutting this so close.
Charisma
But
is historically not a great stat for people who aren't charisma casters.
exactly. And so I knew this was supposed to be rough, but I thought it was going to be shorter and maybe rougher. But instead, I'm pleased with how it turned out. I think it became a very... There's a lot of cinematic moments in it, of both great humor and great misery. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to end on the note we ended on. I thought we were either going to play through the next room and whatever that means, or we weren't even remotely going to make it there. So I know everyone, I get from some people, they're like, why do you always end on cliffhangers? I'm like, because that's how stuff times out. Like, some of them I planned, sure, but like, you know, let it be known I didn't plan this one. So, whatever, man. Cliffhangers are fun.
Never did.
Right? But,
Uh,
I don't know. Any other thoughts on the episode? I know, again, these are kind of straightforward ones, but there's still a lot that happens, and
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty straightforward. Again, I switched up my note taking to try to make it not just be like, the group went through a cave and saw a dog and a monster, which is not. I mean, it's a recap, but it does not do justice the tension I felt listening to it, and I'm sure Melody, you can back me up on this. The players felt going through it.
I was more like worried for everyone else. Like I personally like playing player wise, I was okay because I was in like puzzle solving mode, which for me is like a mode that I'm very comfortable with. Because I was like, okay, what do I have? Like, what are my spells? What are my equipment? Things that I could do to like help other people get through this. So that kind of helped ease the tension for me, at least.
Tinny also has the distinct advantage of being much more well equipped to deal with this. Like Tinny by her lonesome, that would have been fine. That would have been absolutely no problem, barring like total catastrophe. And when two of your party members are fairly hulking human men, like sometimes that complicates things, or in this campaign actually a lot. There's some stuff before we started recording that was some size based stuff as well for them, but yeah, I could not have predicted how cool this part would have turned out, but I'm very pleased with it.
I don't have much more to say. As always, I'll open the floor to anyone who would, if you wanted to, if you thought of something that you didn't include or you didn't say for your characters or the caves so far, you can say so here. If you had a good idea and didn't get to it, or if you wish you would have done something different, or if you're just happy with the way it turned out.
I think I'll leave that in Melody's hands first if you have anything to say.
I think one of the things that I thought of during the journey through the dungeon, if you will, she's kind of on the same page as Volkar in terms of like with like the dog scene for sure. Because I think at like the very end, like I mentioned, in the background just said that Tinny like came around the corner, so she actually would have seen Theron like put it down. And since she is very much like a healer and like a doctor and such, like that actually did hit like a sour note with her for sure, though probably the same way it did with Volkar. She's also in the mind of like taking care of things first before going to more drastic measures like that. But I didn't really put that forth.
Fair? Yeah, that makes sense. I will say, the way that I usually handle dungeon design, and usually a couple specific spots, if you have your boss or your end goal and some other stuff that's out there. And for me, the way I handle dungeons is actually very loosely for prep. I prep dungeons less than I prep conversations, a lot of the time, because I never can ever predict how a party is going to handle a natural encounter or a environmental encounter. And in conversation, a lot of times it's much easier for me to sort of guess or prepare for a couple of things. So I will prepare a handful of things that I think would be cool, which may or may not happen in no order most of the time. And there was a bunch of other stuff. Again, I thought this was going to be a short thing, and so there was a lot of other stuff we could have gotten to. But at some point I realized it was taking a while, and I was like, there wasn't supposed to be three sections of this. But when I realized how just effective it was as a storytelling device. I just said, fuck it, I'll lean into it, and I just threw out 9 out of 11 potential things that could have happened in here. Some were quite small, some were cool and very different. There was potential of an encounter. I felt like throwing an encounter at you all while you were in that condition, crawling through those things was A, mean, and B, didn't quite make sense with some other things that I was removing from the pool now.
I didn't think it needed it.
I didn't either. Like, I was like, this is already taking long enough, and it's already gotten the point across, and I know what's coming, which... Enjoy 15, Ben.
Great.
Enjoy. I get real descriptive about
Aw.
a lot of things.
No.
And so, yeah, I agree, but just, like, feeling the pacing of it out, like, dungeons are always way harder for me to predict what's going to happen unless you just force people and make very single solution things, which there is a place for, of course. But I figured I would just handle this loosely, and I was like, here's some cool stuff that could happen, and cool stuff happened, so it's good. I didn't have to stress out about it, and who knows what the way out may or may not be like, so now I have stuff already prepared that might happen then. So I was very reactive this episode as well. Yeah, I think that's all I have to add to that. To be honest.
Awesome. Melody, that is exactly the stuff that I'm like looking for after like, oh, is there anything that we left on the table in an episode? So thank you for that. Fraya, of course, it's always fascinating to see how you go about preparing all of the encounters, episodes, interactions in this campaign. Any last words before I close out here?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last time, but
Mhm.
we have officially recorded our first, I can't say episode, our first session. It'll probably be multiple episodes out of it, of Tales by the Trash Can Fire. So expect some post-apocalypse coming to the channel fairly soon. Still working out maybe some art details, hint, maybe from Melody, and I have a lot of editing and stuff to do. But we have recorded it, and you all get to look forward to an incredibly beautiful monologue from Danny that brought himself to tears.
Like legit, like
we were all crying for other reasons, but it is so immaculate, and I cannot wait. Like, you're gonna see from Kalis to his new character, the gap is just so big, and it's such a strong start. And then next week, from the day we're recording this, next week we are set to do the first recording for the campaign Casey's running. We have all of our character stuff figured out. I'm not going to say anything further about that, but I'm so incredibly excited for it. So keep your eyes peeled. They will both be edited down into much shorter episodes. I can't really do that with Rolling 20's because y'all are so damn long-winded, and so am I. But the others will be kind of a different format and some heavier editing. So if you're looking for some shorter things that are a little easier to digest than a full 4-hour game, check out the others. But that's all I have.
As always, for joining me or joining us. I don't really know exactly how to say that. But anyway, Melody, thank you. Insight is awesome, as always. I'm still so much love Tinny's voice, the voice you've chosen.
She's a lot of fun.
Yes. Fraya, as always, great to talk to you. Amazing to pick your brain. And as your host, I will sign off. Thank you again for listening to Take 20, the companion podcast to the Rolling 20's. If you like this, And if you're very interested in the content that is coming out, be sure you're subscribed to Rathmore Games at YouTube. That's WRATHMOORE Games, and all the other social media platforms, which I totally know exactly how much those are. I know Twitch for sure. Maybe there's an Instagram. There's a TikTok.
There is. Yep. You got them all. There's a Facebook too. So yeah, if you want to support us, that's awesome. But thank you so much for listening and or watching, and we will catch you next time. Happy gaming.
Bye.